Hello, welcome to Star Wars Force Awakens Secrets Revealed. In this episode, I'm going to focus on Rey and Finn, really the subtext and nuanced performances that went into them and how they reveal a lot about the characters and what they're thinking and feeling. Just a warning, there will be some complete spoilers. Please be warned that if you have not seen the movie, please stop watching right now. Go see the movie before you come back and watch this. First off, the Star Wars Force Awakens, I really enjoyed it. The movie is very nuanced. People came away with a lot of questions, but as I thought about it, there's a lot of subtext that gives you understanding to what's really going on in this movie. So as we read between the lines of what we saw in the movie, we can deduce from the subtext of the movie a lot of what is happening, deeper things that are going on. So let's jump in and talk about Rey as a character. The way that the movie focuses on her is actually very peculiar. A lot of things that brought up a lot of questions in our mind is because the movie is almost created from her viewpoint or from her perspective. There's a lot of the political things that we don't really get answers to, but as you know, Rey had no idea about what was going on in the world at that time. I would have to say that Rey is probably one of the most powerful light side Jedi that we've ever seen. The way that Rey is portrayed is that she is almost completely on the light side. This is in contrast to Anakin and Luke Skywalker, who were both teetering or tempted by the dark side. Anakin definitely turned, while Luke was kind of teetering at some points between light and dark. Well, Rey is firmly planted into the light side, and because of that, she's so powerful, and then Force comes naturally to her, and you can tell that through the different scenes that we get. Some people thought that it was a little bit weird that she picked up on the Force so quickly, but I'm going to go into how everything that she did was fully explained in the movie. First off, she starts off in humble beginnings. She's a scavenger on Jakku. As a scavenger, you gotta think every single day, she was basically making decisions to survive. In a very harsh environment, she was surviving. When she's scavenging for things and she's basically risking her life going into that Star Destroyer just for a meal a day, you gotta think about how much discipline and how much she was actually relying on the Force to get her through that. But most likely, the Force this whole time was with her the whole time when she was on Jakku. Because she was basically in survival mode on Jakku, even though she didn't realize that. There's that guy who gave her the food, and she could barely bargain with him. So she didn't overtly use the Force, but there was most likely the Force was using her and building her up from that very beginning. And she's also in that scavenging survival setting where she's basically surviving every day. But she's learning how to take care of herself and defend herself, fight for herself. A lot of the things that come later in the movie is in direct relation to her upbringing on Jakku. So it's not a jump from suddenly she's all powerful, but it's that basically she has been built up this whole time. Now the Force, when she recognizes how to tap into that, she becomes even more powerful. A lot of people just think it's a little weird that Kylo Ren would lose to her, but that she had been building up to this point for her whole life. In the battle with Kylo Ren was obviously, he was injured by Chewbacca's blast. He was frazzled by the whole thing that happened with Han Solo. But at the same time, you gotta think about this. Kylo Ren, who did he fight as Jedi? There was no Jedi around. Probably this was one of his first lightsaber battles that he's ever had as well. He was trained by Luke, we know that. So he probably had some training in that sense. But when we see that he took out some of Luke's students, he was with a bunch of the Knights of Ren. So he was basically in a big gang. You can see he took out maybe people with his lightsaber at different points, but in a lot of ways, he's not a tested wielder of the Force. He's still very much a Padawan, like the Supreme Leader Snoke says over and over that his training must be completed. He's very much a Padawan in this movie. He comes across as being bigger than he is. That's because he's acting the sort. He is very inexperienced with a lightsaber duel. You know, she's been skilled and been trained on Jakku for, by the Force in some ways for years. And so when they meet, she's actually in the first part of the battle kind of running away from him, trying to get away from him. From the battle, you do see that he's trying to kill her. In some ways, I think he's pulling back a little bit because he does say the line that she needs to be trained, because he does recognize in her the potential for extreme power. And he has a lot of power as well in the Force, but he's, like I said, his lightsaber tactics and his lightsaber fighting is most likely not very tested because he didn't have Jedi to fight. Who did he fight with? No one. And therefore, when he does have his first real lightsaber fight, she was able to upset. In a lot of ways, it parallels what happened with Luke at the end of A New Hope, where he gets that shot off on the Death Star. Luke kind of bests Darth Vader when Darth Vader is on his tail, actually the Millennium Falcon comes in and knocks Darth Vader out of the way, but in some ways he's dodging Darth Vader around. It was a huge upset of Darth Vader, and it's also a huge upset to Kylo Ren at the end of this movie as well. And the fact that she could use the Force pull on the lightsaber is kind of like that one moment where she just clicked into the Force and was able to pull that off. You know, it's kind of like that shot that Luke got off on the Death Star, was that she was able to get that Force pull on that lightsaber. That's the way I see it. Overall, I just really enjoyed Rey as a character. As you see through her performance, she comes across as a very humble person. And like I said, almost 100% firmly planted in the light side of the Force. More so than Anakin, more so than Luke, more so than a lot of the other Jedi we've maybe even seen. They are painting a picture up of her as being related to the Skywalkers in some way. It could possibly Luke Skywalker's daughter. I think it'd be really interesting if they decided not to do that. She's very good with mechanical things, just like Anakin was. She relates to the Force more like Anakin does than Luke does, after I thought about it. But I'd say that Finn actually relates a lot to Luke. Rey relates more to Anakin, except that she's 100% on the light side. When they found Anakin, he was actually developed in the Force quite a bit as well. Not in as a Jedi, but just in using the Force to pod race and using the Force to do different mechanical things, just as Rey was. And so Rey and Anakin both have that mechanical ability and just are very intelligent, like gifted people. But as you see, Rey is a lot older. She's had more time to develop that power. I think they're very related in that aspect. There are some people out there on the internet complaining that she just did everything right too often. But if you really go back through every scene, it's not a stretch. If you really understand who she is and where she came from on Jakku and the amount of survival on a daily basis that she had to deal with, it fits completely that with her recognizing that she has the Force, that she'd be taken to a new level. So she has mechanical knowledge to fly the Millennium Falcon around. She's been using the Force to basically accomplish survivability on that planet. But she always has to struggle for it. She's still putting a lot of effort into what she's doing, puts so much effort into that fight with Kylo Ren. She's really, really good at tapping into the Force and going off her instincts. It's coming all very natural to her. I think that makes total sense with her survivability skills that she learned on Jakku, how she matched those up with the Force and was able to pull off what she did in the movie. So I think everything is fully explained with Rey as a character. We don't know where she came from or who left her there on that planet. We know there's that vision of her where she was left as a child and she's waiting for those people to come back and get her. You also see that she's extremely loyal to that idea. I think everything will be told and resolved, and if she's Luke Skywalker's daughter, there's gonna be a lot of explanation as why Luke didn't take her with him. I feel like that's kind of a weird explanation for it. I would like to see that she's actually another embodiment of the Force, much like Anakin was back in the day. They're building her up to have a lot of characteristics of Anakin, but this time she's like 100% on the light side. Okay, so now let's talk about Finn as a character. Finn is being very underestimated as a character. People say that he just stumbled and bumbled his way through different fights and whatnot, but I really feel like that's untrue. I really believe that Finn as a character is driven by his conscience. Different times he wants to just save himself. It's his conscience of what is right and wrong that pushes him to continue to do what he does, which is very, very cool for a character. Because he's kind of conflicted between saving himself. In the end, he's going to do what is right. In the beginning, we know from his backstory that he was taken when he was young from his family and trained in the First Order as a soldier. As a soldier, I'm guessing he just obeyed orders and did what was told. But when it came down to it, he was supposed to go out there, and that was the first mission he was in. And to kill those innocent people, he couldn't do it because of his conscience. His conscience was steering him the right way. And I want to make this point that I feel like Finn most likely is Force sensitive, and he felt something was wrong, and he felt something that this was his opportunity to get out when he did, and was able to get Poe Dameron off the ship and everything. So the Force was also guiding him in a way. And I could obviously tell when he looked down at that person who died and the guy reached up to his face, put the blood around his eyes, that was a buddy of his. In the subtext of the scene, he looks down at that guy and he's just horrified because that was like his buddy. His buddy probably took a shot for him. And I feel like Finn is living out the rest of this Force Awakens almost as if it's like his second chance or like his second life, because he could have just died right there and his life would have been over with. But the fact that he survived, he suddenly just woke up as well as a Force Awakening. He woke up and realized this was his second chance at life, and he wants to run away, but at the same time he stays to fight because I think he thinks back and realizes that he would have died in that situation. But more importantly, I think he realized that it was wrong, that the First Order was just straight up wrong and that he could not be a part of it, and just he had to get out. Like, no matter what, he just had to get out and just get away from it all. That's why we see him just take that huge chance, get him and Poe off of that ship. I mean, that was just ridiculous that they were even able to do that. They got off the ship and survived. You know, they got shot down or whatever on Jakku. It wasn't by chance that happened, because I feel like there's something going on with him where he is force sensitive, but because of like his fears, he wanting to get away, and just how he reacts to like intense situations, like the Force is having a hard time like reaching him. Because we also see basically, you know, he gets that lightsaber and he's using it just like as a weapon, as any like someone who without the Force would use a lightsaber. But at the same time, just the fact that he can use that lightsaber and be able to pull off some of the things that he did in that movie. Obviously, he's not full Jedi potential, that he does have something going on there where he's able to like survive through that. As we notice, he also killed his fellow First Order stormtroopers when they're attacking them, maybe out of self-defense. He's ultimately driven by his conscience. The First Order is horrible. They have to be done away with. He's absolutely against them. And yeah, when he escapes with Poe Dameron, they go down to the planet. Then he ends up running into Rey. Yeah, as you see, he's not like useless. He pulls off a lot of the defenses that he did on the ship with Poe Dameron. But yeah, he just has natural like fighting skills. Falcon, he was able to jump into a cockpit that felt very uncomfortable, as he said a couple times, but he's able to pull off those shots as well. When he goes to the cantina scene and he's about to leave them, you know, and she says, "You're just someone who wants to run away," and that's all true. So his conscience kind of like is the thing that ultimately sways him back, where he decides that he wants to go save Rey. Like, he can't leave Rey behind. And then we have him in the final battle with Kylo Ren, and he actually holds his own a little bit with Kylo Ren. And you think, you know, as I explained before, Kylo Ren probably hasn't had that much lightsaber fights with anyone. So he was able to hold his own for like a little teeny moment against Kylo Ren. I do feel like it was very believable, and I thought it was great to see him hold his own a little bit against Kylo Ren, but he just throws himself into situations because he knows it's right, and he kind of puts his life on the line so many times in this movie. I was really hoping at the end that Finn would be going with Rey to train as a Jedi. He's closer to Luke than to like Anakin. He's a person with Force abilities that with the right training might be able to develop those skills. At the same time, he might not have the potential to become a full Jedi Master. In the next episodes, I'll talk about Kylo Ren, Han Solo, Chewbacca. So please like and subscribe, and look forward to more episodes about The Force Awakens, Secrets Revealed. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.